deep beneath the sea lived the Sea King and his people, ruling over the underwater world not known to humankind. The Sea King had 5 daughters, each a year apart. The youngest, by the name of Ariel, had the most beautiful voice and was also very interested in hearing the stories of humans who ruled the land above. She loved to learn, and this made her pester her grandmother for stories when she visited the shores of the palace nearby. Although they could swim to the surface and see human life on their 15th birthdays, Ariel felt that it couldn't take any longer, and she yearned for the day to arrive. Year by year, as her older sisters went and told her stories of beautiful sunsets and twinkling lights, the anticipation within her grew. The day arrived. As she swam against the current on her own, she had never felt more free. She was finally rid of the royal rules, with no one following her around for the first time in forever. Daydreaming of sunsets and bright lights, she broke the surface of the ocean, to be met with heavy rain. Almost instantly, the romantic bubble of the human world popped. She took in the storm that raged around, the swollen grey skies and lashing wind, and her gaze settled upon the ship that was inching past. She drew closer and observed a young man on the deck of the ship, probably around her age, shouting instructions to the others. She couldn't hear what he was saying, but she could tell that he commanded attention and respect, for even men older than him bowed and rushed away. Strangely, even without the orange hues of a setting sun or the 1,000 colors of the lights, there was something glowing about this boy, something she couldn't put a word to, but wanted desperately to become. As she was lost in her thoughts, louder yells followed, and she snapped back to reality to witness the boy falling from the ship, others stretching out a hand and shouting, "Your Highness!" after him.
"It's the prince!"
She realized from the stories told by her grandmother. On instinct, she dove deeper down into the sea after him, managing to grab a hold of his hands before he went any further. Keeping his head above water, she managed to get him to shore. Watching his still figure with hardly any sign of life in him, her heart raced, and she prayed for some miracle to happen such that the prince would live. Just then, a young girl rushed out to the shores with a small group of people and pointed at him. Ariel ducked behind a large rock and watched them push the water out of him as he spluttered back to life, gazing right at the young girl before him. A certain anger bubbled in Ariel. She was the one who spent all her birthday rescuing him, and some other person swooped in and picked up where she left off. But she admitted the girl knew more than she did, for she knew how to bring him back to life. Perhaps if it was just Ariel bringing him back to shore, the boy would not have survived anyway. Her line of sight trailed from the shores to the buildings around, and the species of plants and animals she never saw under the sea. She saw the way the humans moved with ease, their feet feeling the warmth of the sand, and she looked down at her palms where she touched the cold rock. Sure, she may be able to move around freely and quickly in water, but she supposed walking would be very different. She went back and told her family about her encounter. Her sisters laughed off her desire to walk on land, while her grandmother studied her with a worried look.
"Ariel, surely there's more than what you're telling us."
Well, it's just... I suppose I would like to see him again.
"And why is that?"
Ariel told her grandmother about the glow to the boy that captivated her. Her grandmother only replied with a knowing smile.
"Ariel, perhaps it's not him. You know, you could be like him."
How? By gaining legs of my own?
"No, dear. Someday you may be queen of this kingdom. You do not have any brothers, and your sisters have told me their dislike for ruling. If you wanted, you could hold an audience too."
But I hate the palace's rules.
"Well, when you're the ruler, you make the rules you want, and you have the power to change it for the better. Think about it, Ariel. You have years to come.
Ariel decided to visit the sea witch, who lived far in the west. He wasn't the scary monster people made him out to be. That gossip arose only because he hardly interacted with people, and he couldn't care less about what they thought of him. Ariel sought advice from him from time to time. Although he wasn't the friendliest figure, he gave good advice.
You will have to give up your voice, Ariel. It's the only way I know the potion will work. Would you really want that?
Ariel hesitated.
No, not really. I love my voice.
Right. So, where's the problem?
But I really want to see for myself what the human world is like.
When you want something, you always have to give up something else. Sometimes you can't have it all. So you've got to know what you really want.
As she grew older, she had more freedom to go wherever she wanted, and she found herself often breaking the surface of the sea to stare at the palace opposite. Through the large windows of the throne room, she saw numerous balls taking place, people dancing and laughing, and the prince on a smaller throne, observing the crowd, always having people surrounding him. She thought about commanding this level of respect by her father's subjects as well. People would take her more seriously. She could do something with this power, protecting her kingdom and helping her people. And by interacting with more people, she could gain the knowledge she ever wanted. She swam closer to shore, placing her hands on the soft and warm sand. It clung to her fingers, and she had to scrub them away. Ariel thought.
I might not be able to step on something, but I can move freely too, and I can outswim anyone in the kingdom. If I had human feet, I would probably walk painfully, trying to get used to a world who had already seen me as an outsider. Why would I give up my family and my talents just for this?
She shook her head and made up her mind. Glancing backwards at the palace for the last time, she understood why she was so captivated by the prince.
It wasn't because I liked him as a person. I didn't even know him personally. But I liked the way he reminded me of who I could become.
Years later, Ariel became a queen adored by her kingdom. By educating young minds about the world around them and allowing them more freedom to make their own decisions, her people were content. And that was when she realized she too made the right choice. Swimming up again to the shore, she gazed at the prince who now took the king's throne. They were both happy the way they were.